I agree with everything you just said. And yes, we've been going through the process. No, I didn't think this is where we would end up, but this is sort of how it played out. I love it. These guys are obviously very smart guys, very aggressive. And when you think about streaming, right? Streaming is incredible. There, no pay-per-view anymore. It's $13 or whatever it is, and you get everything. Plus, these guys have South Park, Yellowstone. I've been talking about Mobland now.
In one of the biggest moves in sports history, Dana White has just signed a $7 billion deal, and it could completely change the UFC as we know it. But what exactly does this mean for the fighters, the fans, and the future of the sport? After news of the $7 billion deal, Dana White explained how the agreement came together. He said the process didn't go as he first thought, but the result is something he's happy with. Partnering with sharp, driven investors is a big advantage, especially with streamings becoming such a big part of sports. Dana believes live events will be key for future growth.
I agree with everything you just said. And yes, we've been going through the process. No, I didn't think this is where we would end up, but this is sort of how it played out. I love it. These guys are obviously very smart guys, very aggressive. And when you think about streaming, right? Streaming is incredible. When they drop a great show, problem with the whole services, I can watch it tonight or I can watch it 2 years from now. Live sports is going to be a big deal, with all these streaming services, and we're going to play a big part.
Dana then shared more details, revealing that Paramount Plus will now host all UFC events without extra pay-per-view costs. Subscribers will get the fights plus hit shows and movies for one monthly price. He says the partnership offers much more than fights.
And when you look at Paramount Plus, right, this new deal that we're going into, you get to watch all the UFC programming on there. No pay-per-view anymore. It's $13 or whatever it is, and you get everything. Plus, these guys have South Park, Yellowstone. I've been talking about Mobland now.
Tom Cruise.
Unreal.
Tom Cruise. They got Tom Cruise. Just all of Tom Cruise as well, brother.
Tulsa King. I mean, the list goes on and on of all the content that they have. Great shows. So now you get, all the UFC content plus, all this other great content too, TV shows, and they have much bigger plans ahead, and we are very aligned with them, and I'm excited to be in business with the Ellisons.
Meanwhile, the new Paramount Plus deal removes the regular pay-per-view model for UFC fans. Dana White clarified that it doesn't mean pay-per-view is gone completely. He explained that unique situations, breakout stars, or unexpected matchups could still lead to special one-off pay-per-view events. Dana says the unpredictability of the fight game leaves the door open for these moments to happen. He said, "What I love about this business is, I can lay out what we think the fights are going to be for a year, and a fight will pop up that I never saw coming. A star will pop out of somewhere, anything is possible, and you could do a one-off pay-per-view. I'm going to be on pay-per-view this Saturday. Pay-per-view is not dead." Adding on, reacting to the massive announcement, MMA Guru broke down the scale of the new broadcast agreement between the UFC and Paramount. He pointed out how the deal surprised many fans and industry insiders, both because of its size and because Paramount wasn't seen as the frontrunner. He then explained exactly how much money is involved and when the new partnership will officially begin.
News just broke that all UFC fans around the world need to know about, so that's what we're going to go through in today's video. The UFC has just signed a $7.7 billion broadcast deal with Paramount to make Paramount Plus the new home of the UFC starting in 2026. Crazy. The number is crazy. 7.7 billion over 7 years is insane. That's 1.1 billion per year for all you math blasters out there. But that's absolutely insane, the number. And the fact that it's with Paramount as well is also a bit of a curveball. People weren't thinking it was going to be that.
After highlighting the surprise factor, Guru moved on to explain what this means for fans in the United States. He said that starting with the new deal, UFC content will be part of the Paramount Plus subscription with no extra pay-per-view charges. This marks the official end of the pay-per-view era for regular events, which he says will make watching fights much more affordable for the audience.
Came out of nowhere. Fans in the US, because this isn't all of it. We've got a lot more to go through in today's video because there's a lot more components to this deal. Fans in the US will have access to all UFC content without a pay-per-view model. No more pay-per-views. Now, I know what you're going to say. Real UFC fans over the past year know there hasn't been a pay-per-view since UFC 300. But now there's no more. You may have thought there's not been a pay-per-view since UFC 300, but trust me, guys, now there's no more. Those were considered pay-per-views. Now there's just no pay-per-view in general. You're not going to pay once a month for a big fight with all of the title fights on there. That's just going to be a part of the monthly subscription service, which is really good overall for affordability. So
finally, Guru discussed how this change could affect fighter contracts, especially for big names who signed deals with pay-per-view revenue incentives. He compared it to the sponsorship changes years ago, where fighters lost income streams they were used to. While it's unclear how payments will be adjusted, Guru says this move will make UFC fights more accessible and reach a wider audience on a huge streaming platform.
What this means in terms of payment to a lot of fighters that have just signed deals, especially the big name fighters that may have signed deals on the incentive of pay-per-view shares, I don't know what it means for them. I guess that's going to be the next meme to come out. Fighters feel like they've been done wrong with their contract. I was earning more with the pay-per-view percentage. This is going to turn into the sponsorship thing, I feel like, where people are going to talk about the pay-per-view era and how much champs were making. Who knows what they're going to do to adjust the payment based on this, but it's making it more affordable and accessible to view the greatest fights on a massive platform. And that much is true. It's always been this way outside of North America, right? Outside of the US and Canada. I mean, TNT Sports is the subscription service in the UK. It used to be BT Sport. Now it's TNT Sports.
Moving on, Michael Chandler broke down how the UFC's new deal will be structured across Paramount and CBS. He highlighted the scale of the agreement and compared it to the UFC's previous ESPN contract. Chandler also pointed out how TKO Group, which owns both UFC and WWE, is making big moves in the sports entertainment world following WWE's success on Netflix.
That is kicked, knee that is thrown, every single fight, every single event, all the 13 numbered events and the 30 fight night events kind of mixed and matched between Paramount and CBS with select fight nights and select big events on CBS. 43 total fights for the next 7 years. And to put this into perspective and think about how big this is, how massive it is, how much the UFC has grown, these aren't exact numbers. All the stuff is speculation, obviously, what you read on the internet, but ESPN deal was a 5-year, $1.5 billion deal. 5-year, $1.5 billion. 5 years later, they sign a 7-year, $7.7 billion, $1.1 billion per year deal with Paramount. TKO Group is out here making massive moves. You guys see what WWE has done on Netflix. They're going like crazy. They're growing like crazy. The UFC.
Chandler then spoke about what this new move means for fans and the sport as a whole. He said having the UFC, the biggest name in combat sports, broadcast on CBS is a huge win for everyone. Chandler pointed out that fans will save a lot of money compared to the old ESPN pay-per-view model.
One of the biggest sports franchises on the planet and the biggest combat sports franchise on the planet by far is on CBS. Now, what does that mean? We've already kind of gone over. You win, I win, we all win, because the UFC definitely wins. They just made $7.7 billion, but you win because over $1,000 a year. You do the math real quick. Like I said, whatever you were paying per month on ESPN, plus every single 4 weeks, 3.5 weeks or so, you were dropping $80 to watch a pay-per-view. That was over $1,000 a year that you were paying. And like most of us, I'm not a huge sports guy, but I had ESPN Plus. A lot of times I'd click on things and said I couldn't watch it. I watch a little bit of baseball, a little bit of football with my sons.
Chandler also addressed questions about future pricing for the new streaming model. He reassured fans that for now, their subscription will cover all UFC fights without extra charges, unlike the ESPN model. While he admitted prices will eventually rise over time, Chandler emphasized that this is normal for all products and services, and the current setup offers much better value for UFC viewers.
Right now, your subscription is your subscription, and they're not gonna, upcharge to watch any of the fights. That was one of the things with ESPN. It's like, well, hey, I've got to pay this monthly subscription. Oh, and then that doesn't include me buying the pay-per-view every month or so. Now, will the prices increase? Of course they're going to increase at some point. Right now they're not going to. Maybe they hold it for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. We don't know. But the simple fact of the matter is the prices of everything increased. The prices of everything increases almost every single year. This phone used to be a couple $100. Now it's over $1,000. This microphone was probably a couple $100. Now it's over $1,000. Everything increases in price. It's just going to kind of move with actual inflation. But
adding on, Sean French discussed the UFC's tough choice between losing money to illegal streams or charging high pay-per-view fees. He explained how piracy hurt UFC's earnings because many fans found ways to watch fights for free. With the new $7.7 billion exclusive deal with Paramount,
UFC and Paramount, what choice did Dana White and the UFC had? You either pay $90 to stream it on pay-per-view or get it free through an illegal streaming service anyway. So from the standpoint of the UFC making a great business decision, yeah, they were already getting ripped off and losing so much money because people were going to illegal streaming services to watch the pay-per-view event. Like, everybody has different apps they can go to, bypass the dollar amount, and watch the event. So, hey, you got to do what you got to do. Well, what's he going to get now because it's free?
Furthermore, as the UFC's broadcast right deal with ESPN approaches its end, questions have grown about what the future holds. Ariel Helwani recalled the start of the ESPN era in 2019 and how it shaped UFC's streaming and pay-per-view model over the last 6 years. Fans and insiders have been watching closely, wondering where the UFC's next home will be after 2025.
Beginning in 2026, as far as the UFC is concerned, pay-per-view is dead. You'll recall at the very beginning of the year, we had our prediction show. And my vote, and I'm not trying to say that I was right, but my vote for what was going to be the biggest story of the year in 2025 as far as the UFC was concerned was their rights deal. It was coming to an end here in the United States, only in the United States. It was coming to an end with ESPN at the end of 2025. They signed a deal back in 2018 with ESPN. Initially, it was a deal that was going to start in 2019. It was going to be a 4-year deal. In the early portion of that deal, they extended it for 2 extra years.
Helwani then detailed how the original ESPN deal was extended beyond the initial 4 years to include exclusive pay-per-view events on ESPN+. He also reminisced about the UFC's first broadcast on ESPN2, marking a milestone in the UFC's streaming journey. As 2025 nears its end, the UFC's broadcast future remains a hot topic for fans in the industry alike.
2 extra years, which included the exclusive pay-per-views on ESPN+. You know the drill by now, and let it be known that it was once New York Rick and I on New Year's Eve 2018 who ushered in the ESPN era on ESPN2. We were the ones that brought it to you at the stroke of midnight. What a time that was. Perhaps we'll unearth that clip when this is all said and done. But essentially, it was a 6-year deal that started on January 1st, 2019 and going to end December 31st, 2025. And so we were all wondering, where were they going to go? Were they going to re-up with ESPN?
Furthermore, Helwani shared the official update that shocked many fans and insiders. Starting in 2026, the UFC will move all its content to Paramount and CBS, ending its long partnership with ESPN. This unexpected switch to the Tiffany network caught the sports world off guard. While ESPN exits UFC,
what's it going to be? My friends, this morning we found out the answer to that question. It was announced officially this morning that beginning 2026, the UFC is taking its entire package, the whole thing, over to Paramount. Out of nowhere, here comes Paramount, and Paramount Plus to be exact, and CBS as well. Yes, the Tiffany network. No one saw this coming. And so as of 2026, ESPN is out of the UFC business. Now, they are still in the PFL business. They have 1 year left on that deal. That deal expires at the end of 2026. Are they going to want to stay in the MMA business and be involved with the distant number 2? That remains to be seen.
On the other side, TKO CEO Ariel Helwani gave insight into how quickly the UFC broadcast deal came together. He He explained that after several bidders showed interest, the final agreement was made within 48 hours. Emmanuel highlighted the complex negotiations surrounding different types of content.
Any different configurations. It came together in 48 hours after there was multiple players for different configurations of our content, pay-per-views, fight nights. As you know, we have 13 pay-per-views, 30 fight nights. And once his deal closed, they jumped in very quickly, and Mark and team, after we kind of figured out the economics, all the other stuff, Mark and team
now,
figured
I
out.
assume 1.1 billion maybe was the highest number, but is there a benefit to it?
Building on Emmanuel's points, TKO COO Mark Shapiro detailed the dual focus of the deal, maximizing revenue and finding the perfect platform for UFC's growth. He emphasized that the record $1.1 billion yearly value represents a significant financial win, bridging traditional broadcast with modern streaming on Paramount Plus for the future of UFC fans.
Parts of the strategy. One is monetization, maximizing the value of our rights. But the second, just as importantly, is what's the right home and platform for the future growth of our brand and our business. So if we can be in one place at the right price, in this scenario, as you said, an AAV of 1.1 per year, which is 2 times what we got on the last deal, we check the box on the financial part of this. In terms of the brand, it was important to us to have CBS play a big component in this. And as they've laid out, this is Paramount Plus exclusively, but CBS will have simulcasts on many of the fights and likely all.
Adding on, James Lynch weighed in on the UFC's move away from the traditional pay-per-view model in the US. He agreed with many fans who find pay-per-views expensive and often not worth the price. Lynch acknowledged that while some upcoming events are strong, the old model feels outdated.
Win for the athletes and anyone who watches and loves the sport. So this is great news because I think I agree with a lot of fans and a lot of people watching MMA. Nobody likes a pay-per-view model. It's outdated. It's not worth it half the time for some of the pay-per-views we have coming up. Granted, this weekend's pay-per-view's pretty solid, but I mean, how many times have we watched pay-per-views and we're like, this really isn't worth the $85. So that's the great news. Now, I do want to point out for people that are watching this that live in Canada where I live, as far as I know, from what I've been hearing, this has no...
Lynch then clarified that this change mostly applies to the US market. In Canada, pay-per-view events will likely remain unchanged due to a separate deal with Sportsnet. Canadian fans still need to buy fights either through Sportsnet or UFC Fight Pass. Lynch said that fans there should stay tuned for updates, but for now, the pay-per-view system continues across the border.
What's going on in Canada, you will still have to pay for pay-per-views because if you remember in Canada, the TV deal is with Sportsnet and Sportsnet is still going to air all the events and Sportsnet still has their model where you have to buy the pay-per-views through Sportsnet as well. Or in my case, I don't buy it through Sportsnet, I buy it through UFC Fight Pass. So we'll wait to hear what's going on with the Canada stuff. But as far as I know, as of the time I'm recording this right now, if you do live in Canada, you will still have to pay for the pay-per-views. Is there going to be a price increase, decrease, hopefully decrease? I don't know. We'll have to keep tabs on that. We've got Aaron Bronstetter chiming in on this as well. Aaron does work for Sportsnet. I'm sure we'll get an update from him later today.
Furthermore, Mike Heck reacted with surprise in respect to the massive new UFC deal. He highlighted how Paramount Plus came out of nowhere to win the broadcast rights, surprising many who didn't expect them to be a top contender.
Need no more. For the UFC, it will be an all-encompassing package, a la the WWE Peacock model to some degree with the premium events. 7-year deal, average annual value of $1.1 billion per year. And wow, absolutely wow. Hat is off. If I didn't have headset on, I would take my hat off to the UFC. I would take my hat off to Paramount, who storms the damn castle at the last minute. I didn't even think they were a top 5 player in this conversation, but here we are, Paramount Plus, standing at the top of the podium with the gold medal. So much to talk about here. I am Mike Heckett, joining me to react to this news.
Meanwhile, Alexander Cayley reflected on the timing of the UFC's big deal announcement. He noted that while fans expected news by late summer, the official confirmation still surprised many. Lee pointed out the unique challenges for Canadian viewers since Paramount Plus isn't available there yet.
I guess the timing isn't like that strange. I think we knew. I believe the last update we got from Ari or Mark or Shapiro, whoever it is, I forget. So he's doing the talking is that they said end of summer, and we're getting there, right? So it wasn't surprising that the news was going to come. But yes, here you go. You wake up on a on a Monday morning, and you get this whopper of a deal. Paramount Plus, we actually don't even have that in Canada, so that's kind of interesting. Well, I'll talk more about sort of the implications for Canadians later. We don't have a lot of details there yet, obviously, and I would always say follow the great Aaron Bronstetter on Twitter, who's obviously locked in. He works for Sportsnet, has a good relationship with the UFC. If there's any update on that front as far as like major implications for us up north, that's probably the guy to go to. But I'm definitely keeping my eye on that. Man, Mike, when Damon and I were sort of calculating odds for this, we did an odds article back in April. Obviously, Netflix was the leader. I think we had ESPN.
The $7.7 billion deal is not just a record-breaking number, it marks a major shift in how UFC content will be delivered and experienced. Fans in the US get more affordable, all-access streaming without pay-per-view barriers. Fighters and insiders face new challenges as contract structures evolve. Meanwhile, UFC's partnership with Paramount and CBS signals a bold step into the future of sports entertainment, blending streaming innovation with broad broadcast reach. This move could redefine UFC's growth, fan engagement, and business model for years to come. So what do you think? Will the streaming-first approach change UFC for the better, or do you miss the old pay-per-view days? How will this deal impact your fight-watching experience? Drop your thoughts below.